What made you ghost a friend? When I was in college, I, M, and a friend, M, went out drinking with a mutual friend, F. We drank enough to decide to all crash at my apartment, which was within walking distance of the bar. My female friend passed out on the sofa as soon as we got there. I shot the shit with my friend for about 10 minutes before he starting talking about my passed out girl, looking at her and saying things like I could fuck her right now and she'd never know. I'm ashamed that I didn't kick him out. What I did was stay up all night sitting in a chair next to her just to make sure he didn't rape her. Fuck that guy. Needless to say, I ghosted him after that night. Probably for the best that you handled it the way you did. A shitty friend like that would have for sure spread rumors of you having raped her if you had kicked him out that night. He was also probably using those hypotheticals to check to see if you would also be down with raping her in the first place. Keeping an eye on him that night was for the best. Started talking shit about me to my GF and best mate. His dad had a history of drinking problems, and he was starting to exhibit the same behavior, so I suggested we should both take a break from drinking for a while, and try to focus on some healthier shit. He apparently took that as I'm not the same person and my GF was the person who changed me. Sounds like somebody didn't want to be held responsible for his own actions, and it cost him his friend. When I realized I put so much more into the friendship than she did. Whenever we met up, it was basically time for her to vent about her life. She always had some ridiculous drama over something tiny. She had 2 sisters. It would change week to week which one she was talking with, and which one she'd never speak to again. And then don't get me started on her hatred for her husband's family, mostly cause they were from a different ethnic background and social class. Lots of other similar issues that showed she was just a narcissist. For a while I put up with it cause catching up with her was a way for me to go drinking not on my own. Then there were a few big events in my life and she just wasn't there for me and didn't care. Well, she pretended to, but sent her husband to take care of me. Then would try to get me to come listen to her yap on for hours. Or do stuff for her. If I tried to talk about my stuff, she'd criticize me and say everything isn't about me, then go on talking about how terrible it was that her mother-in-law didn't say the right thing to her. It just got to a point where I decided I didn't care about her drama and it was draining my life energy, and I decided my life would be better off without her. And it honestly has been. Edit, added in more details. Oh my god, I was friends with someone like this, except it was jobs and boyfriends, both changing roughly every 3 to 4 months. It was always someone else's fault for whatever problem, and it was always the same problems. It's exhausting, and so I had to cut ties. Guy told me you'll never be a good teacher. After 2 years of unemployment following my graduation with a teaching degree, I realized the bastard had meant every joking insult he'd ever said to me. This is why insult humor is hard for me now. I still have relationships which throw around a lot of humor like that, but it comes from a place of absolute trust. We know each other's no-go spots, and the stuff we can joke about each other on. Generally, it's riffing off stupid shit we've done, not who we are, or what we believe. When I realized a lot of the things that made her laugh were at my expense. She thrived off of humiliating me. For sure signs of a shitty friend. I was bullied at school, but my worst bully was my best friend. I used to come home and cry to my mom. I would be heartbroken over how my best friend was treating me. Honestly, I don't remember what my mom would tell me, but I wish she would have told me that I was worth way more than the treatment than I received from her, that she was a bad friend and I should drop her, that I had friends who treated me with respect, and that I should spend my time with them, that she would have forbade me from hanging out with her, anything. I wasted something like 15 years with that girl in that abusive friendship. I loved this girl. She was so clutch for me when my life was in ruins. The issue was that she and I were both addicts at the same time and both came from the same types of affluent families, but for whatever reason, I got clean, and I turned my life around, while she got worse. She and I were both addicts with eating disorders, alcoholism, and both addicted to Xanax. I got clean and only recently, 7 years later, had started experimenting with maybe 1 or 2 beers per month, if I'm out with my husband. She ended up with this awful guy, who she will not give up, who got her hooked on meth. I was there for her for a long time. After rehab and a few arrests, she stayed at my house for a bit on 2 different occasions. But the last time she did, she tore my house apart looking for alcohol, which we didn't have, stole my ID, so she could get Postmates to deliver vodka to my house, and nearly got us both killed by grabbing and yanking my steering wheel while I was going 80 miles per hour up I-95. I've tried so many times to help her get and stay clean, but she keeps going back to that guy and her triggers are my triggers. I had to distance myself because she was making me relapse. But you also know, she won't accept help from anyone until she's ready. I know it hurts and it hurts to watch. I've gone through it myself with a friend. Unfortunately, it's out of our control. On the other hand, go you gaining control of your own life. And I hope you're around people that are better for you. My best friend growing up was a kid I lived next door to from the age of 9 until 18. At school, he would pretend not to know me, so he could seem cool to the popular kids. He would invite me places and ditch me. He would break plans, so he could free up time to hang with his cooler friends. That shit got real old, real fast. When I was 18 I moved to the other side of town. We were growing apart more and more, but I would still try to hang out with him when I could. Well, one day he asked me to come over to his house and play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater when it first came out. I was so pumped that I walked 3 miles to his house only to be told that he was going to go hang out at his other friend's house instead, but could I babysit his brothers and sisters? Needless to say, things weren't the same after that. I stopped answering his calls. He would stop by, and I would leave just to avoid him. He would make plans to hang out, and I never bothered going. I just gave up on trying to be friends with that guy. I tried so hard for almost 10 years, just to be a good friend to him, and he just pushed me to the wayside. Maybe I'm an asshole for stooping to his level, but I don't care anymore. Sounds very much like a chameleon. They're the worst, because they can fit with anyone, but only one at a time. That's where they screw themselves. 10 years of that would take a toll on anyone. She burned the bridge. For most of the year and a half that she and I started working at the same place, she bullied me, micromanaged me, made me feel left out, and gaslighted me whenever I tried to confront her behavior. It was almost always my fault, nothing I ever did was right, and she refused to believe that she has control issues, or that she was using me as a punching bag. She started doing this thing, where she wouldn't text me unless I texted her first, and then get mad if I didn't text her. So, once she quit the job, I stopped texting her. I haven't spoken to her at all since August 2019, and I don't regret it. Rather narcissistic behavior. I'm not diagnosing or anything, but yeah, no, I wouldn't want to be around anyone like that. I told her not to tell anyone, so she told everyone. I've grown to learn that no secret is safe if it's shared with anyone, even to someone you deem trustworthy. I don't tell any big secret to anyone. They will follow me to my grave. He knocked on my door one night and said, "Let's go for a drive." This wasn't that odd, since I love driving to cool my head. So we start driving, and maybe 10 minutes in, he starts directing me on where to go. He asks me if I mind making a quick stop. I'm annoyed but say sure. We end up at this sketchy house in the middle of nowhere, and my buddy goes inside, but tells me to wait in the car. Almost 45 minutes later he comes back out, and says we got to go to the bar. It takes me about 10 seconds to realize this pose went in there to get coke and was already high. So I tell him that I'm not feeling it tonight and drop him off at his place. Spoke to him once after that when he wanted to hang, and I told him I'm nobody's errand boy. Never gave a shit if he got the message, because I haven't spoken to him since. I'm surprised you actually waited for so long outside. Every conversation was about them and their lives. They rarely asked or were interested in what I had going on. The selfishness was just too much after a while. I invited an old friend for lunch a couple months back and this is exactly how it went. We've more or less gone our own paths, so we have different friends and schedules etc. But at one point we were best friends. Amongst other stuff, this just solidified my decision to let things die off naturally. She didn't ask a single question about me when there's plenty to go off of, but I listened to a lot about her. She was really interested when it came to my jobs and how much I was making, / I know the feeling. I had a friend that we were really close from about 12 years old to our late 30s. And not once has she ever asked how my day went. Too much insult humor really fucked my esteem edit, since I can't possibly respond to all these and keep my sanity. We were friends for a while, and it was almost always insult humor, and that combined with a shitstorm of other things just got to me, and I took it personally and ended up blowing up at them. Now I really don't have any way to talk to them and don't care anymore. I had a friend who could only do insult humor. It really wears on you after a while, and they usually can't take criticism about it either. It was only a joke, and such excuses. When I realized she was maybe my best friend, but I was not her. In fact, I was only useful to her. That realization hits like a sledgehammer if you encounter some event or outing where you expected an invite and the friend just acted like you didn't exist. Boy, have I been in the same boat. That blows. I'm sorry. I hope you found some sincere friends since then.